Terrible Football Show, all right?
I want whatever you guys are smoking right now.
Come on, Shane. OH. OH.
Oh,
Here we
baby,
go.
yeah! Shane, I swear to God.
Welcome to a Terrible Football Show.
That's my quarterback and my teammate, man.
Ruins my fucking holiday every damn year.
Alex,
What up?
you could thoroughly kiss my ass.
Why not let us decide the top four?
Yeah, let a terrible football show
Let a terrible
decide the top
football
four.
show.
Fuck you, Shane.
Roll Tide. Have a good one, guys.
Oh,
Have a good one.
yeah, he's got to go. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
I like that Baker Mayfield to myself, man. He was baking up there in the Browns, and it just turned into a big old shit pile. So
Get that right. I will fly you out and take you to a game in Dallas of your fucking choice.
Oh, shit. Yeah, he's successful at just giving his terrible opinions, so why can't I? It's a terrible football show after all. Welcome to the Terrible Football Show, episode 62. Back after a little break. Got Ricky here with me. The other boys, Shane, going to be no-go for today. He's doing some. He's helping out with our local area that just got ravaged by tornadoes. Obviously, massive T's and P's to the people in the Central Arkansas area, because that was wild on Friday. Shout out to Shane for also doing his part and helping out. Jacob may pop in mid-show. We'll see. It'll be a shorter show today, but like I said, do got Ricky here. Ricky, how you doing? How you feeling, bud?
I'm doing all right. Definitely busy week. I'm
feel
very
you.
surprised I was able to make it today, but I think I needed this today. I need to blow off some steam.
There you
I
go.
think. Especially if we get to something good, which let's just face it, we usually do get into one or two topics where I'm like, you know what, let's just stop. I mean, you've heard the Baker Mayfield stuff at the intro of the video.
New intro, got a couple updates, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, it's a beautiful thing. I'm just glad we're back at least for 1 week. And then I know next week, I think what we're doing 4.0 next week.
Yeah, so we actually basically have our plan laid out for the next 4 weeks, if we're going to be honest. So obviously, next week we will do 4.0s. Week after that, we're going to do something that we've never done on the show last year or this year. So I'm actually really excited for it. We're going to do a full 7-round mock draft of just our favorite teams. So I'll just do one for the Bears and the Jags. Ricky, you'll do one for the Cowboys and whoever you decide to pledge your allegiance to, because I don't know if it's the Raiders anymore. Jacob will do the Cowboys and Bengals, and of course Shane, Broncos and Seahawks. And of course, when it comes to doing these are impossible to guess correct. First round, there's a good, honestly, in my opinion, a good 50-50 chance you can get a pick right for the most part, depending on the team. Patriots are always impossible to predict. But those later rounds, they're tough to predict. But the bottom line for it, as fans of these teams, we can at least kind of give our opinion on where we think the team could go in terms of like positional value and stuff at multiple rounds. So I'm actually really excited for this. We've never done it for the show, so that's gonna be the week after that. And then of course, week after that, the draft. That draft week, we will not be going live on Tuesday, of course. We'll be going live on Thursday, 30 minutes before the draft. We'll speed run 5.0s, our final lock it in, what we think is going to happen. And I would say for the 5.0s, and for Jacob and Shane, who may listen to this after the fact, and I'll reach out to them and tell them to, I would try to make your 5.0 what you think it will actually be. I may not go super wild with mine, like I have a couple times. Although the things that I've been wild about, I had some legitimate reasons why. I mean, I had reasons why I was thinking this. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, even if you look at some of the news, some of the reports that are heading out.
Yep.
You look at the Houston Texans. The reports are they may take Will Anderson Jr. with that second pick.
Yep.
And they may wait to get a quarterback with their 12th pick.
Yep.
Which in some ways makes sense, but in some ways doesn't make any sense. But we can get in that later. But you also have others who are looking to trade up. The Tennessee Titans are looking to trade up, possibly.
I called that one
for the number 3 pick, which you did call that one.
Yeah.
Another one that to me that would make especially if the Houston Texans do end up taking Will Anderson Jr. instead of going with the quarterback, I could possibly see that trade happening where Tennessee does move up and they cut ties with Ryan Tannehill,
Yep.
which
Save a
they
lot of
probably
money.
should. He is getting old. Not that he's a horrible quarterback. He's mediocre at best, but At the same time, I would also, it would not shock me one bit that if the Houston Texans do end up taking that second pick and they end up taking Will Anderson Jr., I think the Cardinals pull the trigger. Now, however, if Will Anderson Jr. is still available, however, I think they stick with Will Anderson Jr. I don't think they'll go with that trade pick. He's just a talent. He's just one of those talents you just don't pass up,
Yep.
especially when you're Arizona Cardinals. As terrible as you have been the last couple of years, which I know the year before they went like on an 8-0,
And then
that 8-0
completely
start, and
dropped
then
the
they
other
just
part.
completely
They
fell apart.
just got like fucking drug into the playoffs, but obviously they lost first round. So what does that matter? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Also, shout
And
out
so
to
there's
Steve
a
in the
lot.
chat. He also threw out there Tennessee trading up to get Richardson. I do think Tennessee's going to make some calls to that 3 pick. I predicted that a few weeks ago because in my mind, they got Indy at 4, Houston at 2. You're going to want to get in there. You know what I mean? Like that was my thought process. You're not going to want your rivals beat you out for some of these quarterbacks. So, no, the draft is going to be super interesting. These next few weeks are going to be really interesting. I mean, like, we could see that third pick kind of get traded and see what's going to happen there. But I'm super pumped for the draft. We'll be live for the entire first round like we were last year. Really pumped up for that one. It's going to be a long show, but hey, last year it was great, high energy the entire show. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting into that, especially with the inclusion of Ricky for the full show or as long as you can, and then also Jacob for the full show.
I'll be there beginning to end, my friend.
Let's get it.
Pumped for this. I wanted to be there last year when Tyler told me y'all were going to do it, and I'm driving down the interstate, and then when I hear the Cowboys pick, I'm like, I'm about to throw my phone out the car. They really did not just pick that dude from Tulsa. They did not get a dude from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, come on, people. And then if you look at the University of Tulsa this year, every sport they had this year, they were terrible. Every single one of them. So,
Yep.
But anyway, it's Jerry Jones, so you never know with Jerry Jones.
See, that's why for my Cowboys picks, I've just had it locked in. You guys are going to get like Jack Campbell from Iowa, which would be a great pick, but a guy you could have totally got in the second or third round.
I am I'm putting Tucker Kraft in there somewhere, and maybe the third, fourth, or fifth round. But I'm putting Tucker Kraft in there.
He does seem like a Jerry
like you said, that's just a guy that it's a Jerry Jones type of name that you see out there.
Yeah,
Tucker Kraft.
hell, in terms of tight ends with names, that just seems like a name Jerry would get. Don't keep in mind he tried to get Dallas Goedert, and Philly beat him out by 1 pick.
Yep, that's something. My Tucker Kraft is going to be also like you and Gardner Minshew. Doesn't matter where Tucker Kraft goes, they're going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You're going to have your Gardner Minshew, baby. Let's get it.
My Gardner Minshew,
Let's
man.
go.
Except he's a tight end, not a quarterback. So
yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I'm excited for these next few weeks. There's going to be a lot of draft talk. We are in the month of the draft. We are so freaking close, and we expect some signings to happen, which we may chat about a couple of those here today, like Odell Beckham. We're still waiting for Aaron Rodgers' trade to finish up. Apparently, based on the reports, Packers have now backed off of that first-round asking price that they were originally putting, which
which they should have.
Yeah, they should have, and we even put that in our last mock that we didn't think that we thought that 13th pick was going to stay with New York, but they were still going to get Aaron Rodgers. So hopefully that deal gets done sometime soon, so it's locked in, and we can kind of see where the dominoes fall. Still, Lamar Jackson's a big question, but these next few weeks can be really fun to chat about draft talk and everything. For today's episode, as you can see from the title, it's a terribly planned or a terrible planned football show. I did make sure that is not an error on my part, for the record, of me not putting a terribly planned. I wanted to go true to our brand and call it a terrible planned football show. That is not an error. I promise. That was intentional. But yeah, no plan for today. We're only going to go for maybe like an hour. I got some stuff I want to do around the house. So we're just going to kind of chat about a few things. Steve also throws in the chat, should just back off of Rodgers and go after Lamar, talking about the Jets.
So here's the problem with going after Lamar, even though I 100% agree that the Jets would be very successful with Lamar Jackson. It's just not their pace and type of quarterback. He would not, to me, he just would not fit well underneath the New York Jets system and what they're trying to do. They're trying to get someone that's more experienced, someone like an Aaron Rodgers who can hopefully guide them to Super Bowl, even though if you look at recent history, that's not going to happen with either quarterback. So, I mean, it's, when you're locked in on somebody, it's just like how can I explain it? It's just like when you're locked in on your girl, and you know you want to spend the rest of your life with that person. It's the same thing when it comes to a GM and a football player. When that GM is locked on and they're saying we're going after this person, they're locked onto that person until that person says no, or until the organization that owns that person's contract rights, whatever the case may be, says no, and they end up backing off. This case, the deal is going to happen. It is
Yeah,
eventually
it's
going
gonna
to
happen.
happen.
Yeah,
But like I said, but the Packers have all kinds of leverage due to the fact of the contract Aaron Rodgers signed last season, which, even though it wasn't on the show last season or last year at this time, it was completely idiotic to begin with. Why they would even
true.
consider signing him to that big deal, considering the last few off seasons, we keep dealing with the same question: is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Green Bay Packer or not?
Yeah. And also my opinion with the Aaron Rodgers and Lamar thing. Well, I'm in the boat with you. I agree, right? Like, I think that's just the better play. But I also agree with you. I just don't think it's the right fit. But then also, like, for what you're saying about a GM is locked in on a guy. I also think, because even though I completely disagree with this motive, there's a part of me that believes that they are still pretty damn committed to Zach Wilson, and they think Aaron Rodgers can get him on track. I think Zach
Well,
Wilson's a complete bust, in my opinion.
I,
Complete bust.
I'll agree with that as well. Um, but it's just like I said. Usually, especially when, how can I explain this? It's the same way that I kind of like the same explanation I had a while ago. It's like when you fall in love with somebody, you want what's best for that person.
Yep.
And in this case, I think that's the case with Zach Wilson. I think they want him to be successful. I think this is just my opinion. He has the potential to be successful. He has the tools to be successful. He just doesn't. He's just not a pro quarterback.
Yeah, he does. He
That's
doesn't
that's
have the
he's just,
motive. He doesn't have the drive.
exactly.
Yep.
If you just got to have that it factor, and everything, Alex, I'm telling you, and it was proof during this past season. The New York Jets had every piece ready to go
Yep.
except for quarterback. And they had a rookie running back until he got injured, but it was working, and it was working just fine. And then all of
Yep.
a sudden, the last 8 games of the season, pow,
Yep.
crash and burn. And it was bad. It was so bad.
Steve also threw out there Lamar going to be a Colt. If that happens, I called it last mock draft. I did have that in my last mock. Or I don't remember if that was in my 3.0 or 4.0. I think it was the last one. I think it was 4.0.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right.
Colts.
I think it was.
Colts making that trade, and Baltimore picked at 4. That was my my prediction in my last mock. So if that happens, I called it. I got proof. I got my show. I got the recording, baby. He also said he'd love to see Lamar go to the Steelers, but that'll never happen. No, they got Pickett. They're good.
They got Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
They're not moving away from Kenny Pickett, and it's
Nah,
also
he's
a
got the
rivalry
it
of
factor.
Baltimore. Yeah, rivalry of Baltimore. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, the Lamar conversation is one to watch. Same thing with like the Odell Beckham conversation, because like as of now, like one of the biggest teams that is still in the conversation is the Jets, and I really think it just comes down to waiting for the Aaron Rodgers thing to get done. Baltimore made him a pretty damn good offer, from what I understand, but he's wanting to know if Lamar is going to be there or not. Baltimore came back, offered Lamar a pretty good contract, is the word, but I think it's still the sentiment that Lamar didn't want to be there at this point.
So the word has it, Alex. It's the years that he was locked in on. He was only locked in on a 3-year deal. I think it was 133 million is what was
Yeah, something
at
like
least that's
that.
what I've heard. It was like 133 million guaranteed. It was a fully guaranteed for 3 years, which you're only looking at about 40 something million a year.
Right.
Which that's a lot, but at the same time, I think he wanted more years. I think he wanted 5 or 6 years instead of 3. Which that's and in my estimation that's fair. But I've said it before and I will say it again. And I don't know why the hell Lamar Jackson has not hired an agent. If Lamar Jackson hired an agent, this deal would have been done years ago. We would not even be talking about it right now. He was an MVP the second year of his career. He was an MVP, for crying out loud,
Yeah.
and well deserved so. And then, I know the last couple of years he's been injured, but this past season, and nobody can convince me otherwise, he refused to come back this year. He refused to come back after this injury. And I know he's a competitor. I know that. He's a great football player. but at the same time, he wanted to make sure that he was going to get a good contract done before you go out there and you put your body on the line to win a Super Bowl, which they were not going to win Super Bowl this year anyway. But you get my point.
Right. No, I 100% agree. I think this would have already been done, so long ago. But here we are continuing to talk about it. It's reached a point like the Deshaun Watson stuff last year, where it's like, I just don't want to talk about it anymore. Like, let's just get it over with. I just want to get it done.
There are two things right now that they're the old news. It's the two things that it's so hard. It's just hard to talk about, but at the same time, it's like they're the two highest profile players right now, Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. And it's the same story.
Yep.
It's the same issue. We've had these issues for years. Just with the exception of Lamar Jackson, it just drags on because now you're reached past the deadline point to where now he's franchise tagged. So now Baltimore completely owns another year contract. He could retire, but he would still lose all that money. They would still they would still own the rights to trade him.
Yep.
And get compensation for it. That's just it's just part of it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to when these conversations can be done. Between those two and Odell, man. Those two and Odell are the biggest ones where it's like, what's happening? Where are they going? And I got to say, when it does finally happen for Lamar and Odell, I'm looking forward to chatting about it, especially Lamar, because that's going to obviously have big draft, repercussions. So I'm really excited to chat about that one whenever it does freaking happen. Talking about draft, though, one topic that I definitely wanted to touch on here today in our short episode here is, what is your thoughts on everything going on with Jalen Carter? Because there was a lot of reports where it's like a lot of teams was taking him off the draft board completely, which I can see that. That's fair. Now there's this new report out from his agent, one of the best agents in the game, Drew Rosenhaus, that he is no longer taking any meetings from any team outside of the top 10. Listened a little bit to the Pat McAfee show today, and one thing that Daniel Jeremiah said, that whenever he saw that report, that he said to him, his educated guess means that if he's there at 10, Philly's taking him. So that's why the meetings are being canceled. But at this point in time, like, what's your feelings on this? Because in my mind, like, I would steer clear from him. He just visited Chicago, which as soon as I saw that news, I'm just like, oh boy, oh come on. I really don't like. I get he's an incredible talent, but like, too much baggage for me. You know what I mean? Especially when we're in the process trying to right this fucking ship that's been a dog shit ship for a long time. I don't want that baggage. I really don't. Plus, we have other positions we need more. Just like, what's your thoughts on the Jalen Carter stuff?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's like, how much legal trouble is he actually in? Or is this just
that is the big question?
Or is this just a lot of smoke that's being blown up? So that's the biggest key, because I guarantee you, every single one of these teams, the first question they're going to ask him, because they know the kid is talented. We know the kid is talented.
Facts.
But what about the legal trouble? Is it going to drag on for so long, like a Deshaun Watson case did, to where Deshaun Watson did play for what, over a year and a half, almost 2 years before he even stepped onto a football field, and then the Browns, of course, did their stupid thing. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. My point is, you don't want another Deshaun Watson. You don't want to draft a kid, especially as high as the first round, because you and I both know when you are a first round draft pick, it doesn't matter if you're pick 1 or pick 30. Most of the time when they pick you, they know you're ready to go. Like, you are the most NFL ready of all 7 rounds. And that's why they take you in that first pick, because they know you are NFL ready and you are ready to go. If this drags on, Jalen Carter's not going to be ready to go. And if the legal trouble isn't that big of a deal, then why are reports conflicting otherwise? Because if it wasn't that big of a deal, we would have already heard by now, guys, it's not that big of a deal. It's going to blow over. Let's move on. But we're not hearing that, Alex.
Yep.
We're not hearing anything right now, which tells me that the legal trouble could be way worse than what has been originally reported. He could be in a lot of trouble, because if I'm not mistaken, someone's life was lost because of this.
Yeah, they were. It was a teammate of his.
And so, and that's, I wish the best for the kid. I really do. But there's two things here that really bother me. Number one, how arrogant is this guy? Like, is it just Jalen Carter, or is it his agent that's saying he's not going to take, is he's not going to take any meetings outside the top 10.
That's also
If
something
I-
I was wondering.
If Jalen Carter wants to play in the National Football League, you take any damn meeting that you can, and you face every single owner. There is one owner right now. He doesn't care that you're in any kind of legal trouble. And he goes by the name of Jerry Jones. You think Jerry Jones will draft you at the 28th pick, whatever pick that he has? Of course he will, because he loves the bad boys. He loves all the bad guys
Yep.
in the entire world, and everything like that. So it really bothers me that he's not even considering going on the top 10. And if he actually pays attention to the news, if they're taking him off the draft board, he really needs to get in these other meetings, and these other meetings and the teams that have a pick worse than number 10. And so now, not only does arrogance kick in, but how much does this kid really want to play football? And I know that sounds crazy, but it's almost like you're saying, I really don't want to play football anyways, unless I'm in the top 10.
Yeah, and whenever it comes to that level of arrogance, like that's something some players, very few, enough to probably count on one hand, can do something like that and it be fine and it work out in the end, right? Most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, that level of arrogance, like it doesn't pay off. Like, I mean, here's a great example of a player, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time at his position, that did this. Shout out to Deion Sanders. He's told this story that, he had a meeting with the New York Giants and they gave him some test thing, like some big ass booklet. And he's like, what pick are y'all? And they were like the 10th pick. He's just like, fuck this. I don't got time for this. I'm going to be gone by then. And he left. He left the meeting. But that, again, that's once in every, generation type of talent and player that can be that level of arrogant and it pay off. I mean, we saw it happen to fucking Josh Rosen. I'm going to prove that there was 9 mistakes made ahead of me. How's that going, bud? Like it doesn't work.
Do you remember? I remember this like it was yesterday. But I remember when Matt Leinart visited every team that drafted before the Arizona Cardinals actually drafted him, and they actually asked him, why didn't you draft Matt Leinart? Like, he even visited the Tennessee Titans. It was who was the head coach at the time of the Tennessee Titans? I'm trying to remember
Jeff
who it was.
Fisher.
I don't think it was. It may have been Jeff.
Yeah,
Fisher.
it was Jeff Fisher. He was the head coach from like late 90s to like late 2000s.
Because they went with Vince Young. He's like, well, why'd you draft Vince Young and all this other kind of stuff? I could kind of see Jalen Carter doing one of those little deals, but at the same time, look at Matt Leinart. Barring that he had a lot of injuries and everything like that, he was a decent quarterback. But I would have taken Vince Young before him.
Yeah.
But both of them turned out to be a bust. But
yeah, Vince went to like 2 Pro Bowls. So I guess he's still a bust. But I mean, hey, at least he did something. Yeah, he was a bust, but at least he did something. Matt Leinart did nothing.
Yeah,
he did nothing. He was a good backup. If that.
He was.
Yeah.
He was.
The Jalen Carter thing, like, I don't know, like, there are certain instances where it's like it's understandable, where it's like you want to stop meetings or something. Because I know, like, just again today, I didn't get to listen to a lot of the Pat McAfee show, but I was kind of tuning in and out. But there was one particular segment where they were talking about the Jalen Carter thing, and Pat asked AJ Hawk about it, who of course went 5th overall. And AJ said he went to multiple meetings. I mean, like but he did end up canceling meetings because it was like he was in the process of like what he said is like preparing for finals. I think it was like Easter weekend, and the Raiders, who had like the 7th pick or something, was trying to get him a meeting. And AJ's like, nah, I'm done at this point. I mean, I'm trying to get finals, and it's Easter. I'm done. I don't care. If you pick me, cool. If you don't, whatever. That was his mindset.
And I'm okay with players, gambling and betting on themselves.
Yeah, true.
Especially if you're trying to sell yourself and everything like that. But
yeah.
To me, it sends a bad vibe. How much do you really want to play football? Because I'm telling you, if the top 10 doesn't take him, these teams are going to have a bad taste in their mouth, and they're not going to end up drafting this kid.
I know. See, that's what I'm looking forward to. If it comes the Eagles and he's still on the board and they don't take him. But here's going to be the real kicker, is if they don't take him and they go with Nolan Smith, the other edge rusher out of Georgia. That's going to be that would be hysterical. That would be hysterical, man. So
Which at this point, it doesn't matter which Georgia player you draft, you win. I mean, that's just you
yeah,
can take any Georgia player at this point.
basically,
Just
I haven't decided what I'm going to do with Jalen Carter for my next two mocks because there's that part of me that I think he could slide out of the first round completely.
yeah, and the more today really almost solidified that, Alex. It really almost solidified that for me because, in my opinion, you look at the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have a ton of money they can still spend. They don't have to have this kid. They don't have to have this kid to win. Their defense did just fine without him last year. They really need to beef up their offense. I don't think they'll take. I personally do not think they're going to do one of two things with that ninth pick. They're either trading it or they're drafting an offensive player. That's all they really have to do. The defense has been fine. They've got to beef up that offense. They don't have to have this kid.
So actually, for our pick at this point, based on like kind of like where the conversation's been going on like Bears Twitter and stuff, I obviously offensive lineman is where I still think it's going to go. I think it's going to be like a Paris Johnson or a Broderick Jones from Georgia. Peter Skoronski maybe. I kind of like the story of the hometown kid who's a fan of the Bears and stuff to get drafted. That'd be super cool. But I mean, he's going to be like Peter Skoronski has the potential to be like a Zach Martin or Quentin Nelson level guard, not a tackle. You know what I mean? He could be a good starting tackle, but he could be like a Hall of Fame guard based on like his build and his skill set and stuff. So it's the question, is he willing to go interior? I haven't seen any reports asking that where it's like, is he going to, and him responding. So I think it might be Paris Johnson now, but I've seen a lot of conversation. And this conversation's already been there, but it's heating up pretty massively right now that the Bears could go wide receiver and draft Jackson Smith Najigba.
Which is what I had in my last draft.
Yeah.
But I have Peter Skoronski. I've had him going to the Raiders in every one of my mock
I
drafts.
think you have, yeah.
I think the Raiders are going to eventually sell on him.
I'm looking forward to seeing where he goes. I'm such a big Peter fan, man. I really am. Like, he's my favorite O lineman of this draft. Him and DeJuan Jones from Ohio State
Yeah,
are probably.
yeah.
I
DeJuan
love.
Jones is going to be a good one.
I'm looking forward to where he goes, man, because he was a combine freak. I mean, like when I was watching his drills, and he's literally throwing the coaches. I'm just like, this guy's a dog. This guy is going to be a monster. Paris Johnson looks great, but DeJuan Jones just looks like a dog ready to fucking eat. So I'm looking forward to seeing where he goes. But no, that Bears pick at 9 will be interesting. I mean, honestly, like the whole top 10 is going to be interesting because of how many more moves we could potentially see. You know, that Cardinals pick, they're getting phone calls. Is Tennessee actually going to make that jump up? And, with that, let me ask you this because, you touched on it earlier, and I was planning to circle back to it now. With that second pick, you kind of mentioned that the reports that the Texans could pass on a quarterback. Basically, the way I understand it is if Bryce Young's not there, they're going to pass on a quarterback and try to get the next one. But like, let's say Tennessee trades up to that third pick before the draft. Can the Texans really afford to do that? I mean, let's be real. I mean, you have 4 teams, 1 to 4, that all need quarterbacks. You can't afford to do that, in my opinion.
It depends. Do you want to roll the? It depends if they want to roll the dice or not. And that's the thing, Alex, is you and I both know in history tells us, in history, for whatever reason, especially when it comes to the NFL draft, history tends to repeat itself. We always have these big top tier quarterbacks who come out of college football, and you and I both know there's going to be some that are going to be bust.
Yep.
We're already betting Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson should be a first round draft pick. I could see second or third, if not the fourth, but not the first round. But then there's also those who just sneak up on you. It all points down to what you actually are going to be willing to gamble to do, because this is what you're going to be faced with. So I still think the Panthers are going to take. I still think the Panthers take C.J. Stroud. They could prove me wrong and take. They could prove me wrong and take Bryce.
Hey, they could prove everyone wrong and just take Anthony Richardson and prove. Well, they could prove everyone. They could prove everyone right in the mindset that the Carolina is a poverty franchise.
And they could do that. So it's all based on, because in my opinion, you take a quarterback because that was the one position last year they were very, very inconsistent in, more than any of them last year. Then again, if you want to roll the dice, Will Levis could be there. I've heard Hendon Hooker could be another first-round pick that he could sneak up. A lot of people are sleeping on him, which I wasn't sleeping on him. But the reason I've held him back is because of his ACL injury. Are these NFL teams going to take him under consideration that, hey, he did have an ACL injury, but we also have to also look at history. Robert Griffin had an ACL injury. They brought him in. Well, they were the Redskins at the time, the Washington Commanders or whatever the hell their mascot is. Which, anyway, when they brought him in, and he ended up having basically a 1-year career because after that he was no good anymore. So it just depends on if they're willing to roll the dice, get a good defensive player, which is what they're looking to get. I could see them doing that, but personally, I'm not passing up on a Bryce Young if Bryce Young's there available at number 2.
I mean, for me, if I'm set at that second pick, I'm not passing up on Bryce or CJ. You know, CJ is still my number one. I like CJ. I like the way that he plays, and I like the build. I love the way Bryce plays. And the thing is that, you know, there was something that I heard when I was listening to, you know, some ESPN Chicago I was listening to the other day. And one thing that was kind of chat about with Bryce, where it's like, you know, everyone's talking about his size, right? But you need to keep in mind that while, yeah, he played at Bama, he had a good line, whatever you want to say, he still played in the SEC, right? Like, he played against literally the best competition in college football, and he took hits. Like, did he take as much hits as he is going to in the NFL? No, absolutely not. But he still took some big hits, and he still got back up and played completely fine. So it's like, yeah, his size is really in question, but like, I think people are throwing his size too much as the focus and not his toughness. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, he's small dude, sure, but he can still play. He can still ball out. So, like, you know, I like Bryce a lot, but, man, just CJ, you know, to me, I think CJ is the best quarterback in this draft. That's my opinion, and my opinion very well could be wrong. It's a terrible football show after all. But I like the way CJ plays, man. I like his build and the way that he plays. And if I'm Carolina, I'm taking him at 1. And if I'm Houston, I'm taking, you know, Bryce at 2. And you know what? If Carolina wants to prove to everyone they're a poverty franchise and take Anthony Richardson, then, you know, at number 2, you know, you got the choice of CJ and Bryce. I mean, it's a toss of the coin, in my opinion. You know, they'll probably go with Bryce, but like, let's say Bryce happens to go 1. I'm fine with taking CJ at 2. Now, the real curveball is if Houston takes Anthony Richardson at 2. That's the real curveball. Also proving they're a poverty franchise.
Right.
And
either way, Carolina's going to screw this up. I'm telling you, I have a feeling Carolina's going to screw up, and they're going to take Anthony Richardson number 1 overall. I could be wrong. I would take C.J. Stroud, but, you know, let them take whoever they want to. Let them be stupid. Well,
Yeah.
We're just going to let them be stupid.
The one thing that I think is so funny out of this whole thing, though, with all the draft, you know, the trade with the Bears and the Panthers and now the Titans could go up, is I honestly just think it's hilarious, and I love it at this point, that the Colts are going to be the one to be the odd man out and just get shafted and not get their guy because Chris Ballard just continues to sit on his hands and not make a move. You know what I mean? Like, we both know that man had the opportunity to go up to 1, and he just ended up taking it.
Well, it's like I said though before, Alex. It's like do you really want to give up that many assets for a rookie quarterback that's not proven yet? Which like I said, I understand. But we're talking about 3 spots here. There's gonna be a quarterback. It does not matter which of as long as you don't take Anthony Richardson, because I'm still a believer that Anthony Richardson's not going to be good in the NFL.
Same.
But you've got C.J. Stroud, you've got Bryce Young, you've got Will Levis. You can roll the dice on any one of those 3 and build a franchise around them right now. In my opinion, I think you can. I know that Will Levis played at Kentucky. I know Kentucky is not a football school; they're for sure a basketball school. But Bob Stoops had that guy. Had he had the offensive line for that guy, he probably would have had a lot better season this year than what he did last year, for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Last year he had a great year, and this year, you know, at the start had some flashes of what we know of Will, but then after that it just it trailed off. You know what I mean? Yep. It's to be expected. He got beat up. His line didn't help him, and he put too much mayo in his coffee. So what'd you expect? You know, it was going to happen eventually. You know, him going down and you know, dealing with the injuries, whatever. But I will say, have you seen the before and after shots of him bulking up though?
I have not.
Yeah, he posts
It's on.
some before and after photos, like before he started getting like hard into the workout grind. I think December to prepare for the draft, and like just like last month, dude is like looks like a freaking linebacker. I mean, he is shredded, like he is bulked, and he looks like he is a beefy guy right now.
Let's stop putting mayonnaise in his coffee.
That's my guess. That or he switched to like a fat-free mayo or something. I don't know.
I
God,
didn't
that
know
is
there was a such thing.
that is just still one of the most disgusting things on the planet to me. Mayonnaise and coffee. What mental deficiency do you have going on, man?
There are some. It's like now I've personally have never experienced like any. I've never done like marijuana or pot or anything like that. But from my understanding, there are people who like to mix Pop Tarts and Cheetos. So you never know.
Now I've never heard that one. I
Yeah,
don't like
Pop-Tarts
that.
and
I don't
Cheetos,
like that I heard that because now I'm going to think about it. I don't like that.
Carrots and mustard. I mean, you can name it, a bunch of different foods that don't go together that some people may enjoy.
Right.
I used to enjoy a peanut butter and syrup sandwich. I like peanut butter and syrup.
See, that's acceptable though. Because like if
Right.
you get like syrup, put it on like waffles and stuff, and put peanut butter with it, man. Put peanut butter on your waffle. It's delicious.
Yep, it's very, very good. As a matter of fact, I may get that later.
There you go. See, there you go. You got food inspiration. Got food. One thing I was wanting wanted to ask you about as well, because this report just really popped out today. Do you think all the reports about the Mac Jones thing? Do you think that's all smoke, or do you think that's got some legitimacy to it?
I think there's legitimacy to it.
I do too.
I think I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you some of the things that I've heard. And we all know what type of a coach Bill Belichick is.
Right.
He has
yeah.
a reserved personality. He's not a very likable guy, if you want to put it that way.
True.
I think Robert Kraft is getting ready to pull the trigger on Bill Belichick. And
Okay.
here is where you could sort of defend this, Alex. Before Tom Brady, where was Bill Belichick?
Exactly.
The Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Did not have a very good record with Cleveland. Came over to Foxborough. Had Drew Bledsoe as a quarterback. Of course, Drew Bledsoe before he got injured was a very very good quarterback. But I don't think he ever played for Bill Belichick except for that one year he got injured. Tom Brady comes in. All of a sudden, he has all this success. Tom Brady leaves. They draft a Tom Brady-like quarterback in Mac Jones. And yes, I was one of those who was very high on the board with Mac Jones. And what's he done since Tom Brady? Absolutely nothing. What has Tom Brady done? 2 divisional titles with Tampa Bay, 1 Super Bowl, and he made the playoffs all 3 years. Bill Belichick's made the playoffs once since Tom Brady left. And I know it's only been a short time, and I know that you got to have time to rebuild and everything like that. But I really believe that Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft are butting heads at this point, because I really believe Robert Kraft wants Lamar Jackson. I believe Robert Kraft wants Lamar Jackson. I don't know if Bill Belichick wants Lamar Jackson. So that's why I think that's why the reports of them shopping Mac Jones could be legitimate. It could be that Bill Belichick's getting ready to fold and give him to the owner, which in some ways the owner kind of needs to let the coach do his job, but when the coach hasn't really done anything since Tom Brady's left, and you're not the New England Patriots that you once were when you had Tom Brady. So I think there's some legitimacy to it, because I believe Bill Belichick, if he doesn't have a good season this next season, he may not be the Patriots head coach anymore after next year.
And I do think that is something for people to consider. Because I saw some reports where Bill Belichick may not even finish his career in New England. And I think there is some legitimacy to that, man. I think it's a situation of that time has passed kind of vibe. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, it really shows just how much Tom Brady meant to that team and that offense. More than anything else, that Tom, he made it work. They were both leaders in their own rights, but he made it work. But, I do see the legitimacy behind it, where maybe it was one of those things where it's like, while sure, last year there was just a giant shit show with, Matt Patricia being a freaking OC and whatever his name is, the dumbass that was the Giants head coach before, Joe Judge. There was a lot of drama around that, but I think that drama, while they were in the wrong and Mac was technically in the right on things. Where Mac was in the wrong was he really showed his immaturity, which I think that's what is. And I'm not saying I want the record. I'm not saying Mac was immature because we haven't gotten hard reports of what was said or done. I'm saying this from like if looking at it like this is what Bill saw. Is Bill saw Matt Patricia and Joe Judge fuck up, hence why Matt Patricia is no longer that. I don't even think he's in the Patriots anymore. I could be wrong, but I know he's at least not OC. And while Mac Jones may have been like in the right, he was also in the wrong for being immature. That's the vibe that I got. I'm not saying that's for sure what happened, but that's the vibe that I got, and that's probably enough to turn off Bill Belichick to maybe want to move on. But at that point, who do you move on to? You just go with Bailey Zappi, the GOAT, or do you make a trade for a guy like Gardner Minshew in Indianapolis? What do you do? Like it's the questions are all over the place.
I knew you were gonna say. I knew you were gonna bring Gardner Minshew up. I knew you were gonna bring him up. So, do you ever really hear anything about the Patriots though? Like, do you ever hear anything like legitimately about the Patriots? They're more of a quiet bunch. The Patriots, I'm gonna tell you who Bill Belichick reminds me of. He reminds me of Bobby Petrino before the motorcycle accident.
Right.
When Bobby Petrino was at Arkansas, he didn't report shit. I mean, he didn't report a damn thing. Sideline reporting, they didn't go to the sideline report very much. If there was an injury report, they didn't report injuries. They were a quiet bunch. But you just saw him coach on the football field. Oh, and he was an asshole. I mean, he was an asshole when he was with Arkansas. Bill Belichick to me kind of gives me the same vibe, with the exception he's not riding a motorcycle, cheating on his wife, or anything like that. But they kind of give me that same kind of vibe,
Right.
because he's just such a quiet guy. It's like he is like the Greg Popovich of the NFL. Because Greg Popovich is kind of that way.
Yeah, he
jerk.
was.
He's just kind of a jerk. But I just don't know, because if you look at Tom Brady, you could kind of tell even the vibe that he's given us. Him and Bill Belichick in the end, it just fell, and they just did not. He just didn't want to be around it anymore.
Right. And and ultimately, obviously, it paid off for him. He won a Super Bowl his first year out. But I mean, you're right. He just didn't want to be around anymore because while I understand Bill's approach to Tom, where he wanted to treat him like everyone else, so all the players knew like everyone's treated equal, whatever. Tom's just like, all right. I mean, come on, man. I mean, how many rings am I wearing now?
I am fully aware. There is a certain way that you have to treat certain players, and I get that. I'm also in that belief that you try to treat everybody the exact same way. You treat it down the middle, but you're not dealing with high school students.
Yep.
You're not even dealing with college students. You're dealing with professional athletes, grown men getting paid millions of dollars. You have to develop and you have to maintain these relationships with them. It may not always be pretty. You may have, when you're on the field, it's all business. We're going to take care of business while we're on the football field. Off the football field, hey, let's go get a drink or something like that.
Right, right.
I could see something like that. It's kind of like how my boss is. My boss is one of those bosses. When it comes to business, we take care of business. Outside the business, he doesn't give a crap. He's like, you can do whatever you want to outside this business, just don't embarrass the company. And so, and that's his partake. Just don't go out and get arrested, get a DWI, because we'll have to fire you. Things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the thing. Bill Belichick is all business. He's just all business, and that's just the guy he is.
Yeah. And that's the guy he's always going to be. And, now it's reached a point where the Patriots are no longer relevant. If Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets, honestly, the Patriots are the worst team in that division. I think it's a legitimate thing where Robert Kraft is potentially looking to move on, and hit the reset button. Like it's finally time kind of thing. I do think that's a real possibility, which that's going to be a very wild day when that finally happens. But it's also going to be the wild day that if he doesn't retire and he goes and coaches for another team. Whatever teams are hiring at that time, So
Yeah, and that's a conversation for another day. But it's like, where does Bill Belichick fit? Because at this point, it's nowhere. I mean, it's really not. I mean, he's been with the Patriots that long. I just the way this coaching style and everything like that. I personally think he retires. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know anybody right now. I don't know any system or anywhere he would fit right now with the style that he had, as far as like his personality, his coaching style, things like that. I don't think he would fit anywhere right now.
Yeah, I don't either. You know, just 'cause he's just. It's nice to have an old school coach. We see where it still pays off, but he's like old school coach to almost a fault. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying old school coaches are wrong or anything, but I mean we really just have reached a point where it's like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and call players divas. You know, while we do have some divas come along, sure, I'm not going to call them divas. I'm not going to call them that at all. They just want to get treated like adults. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's totally fair. Like, it's fine to be coached. It's fine to be, you know, disciplined when you need to in a job setting and stuff. But at the same time, like, we're adults. You know, let's be treated like adults. You know, and in you know, Bill's case, maybe that sort of coaching, that era, maybe it's just past. You know what I mean? You know, I definitely see a world where it can still exist in very strongly in literally just Bill Belichick's case, because he's going to be respected wherever he goes. But at the same time, you know, players, you know, it's a different breed of players. You know what I mean? When you play, you know, the players that we have now that are rising to prominence, I mean, they're younger than me. You know, it's just it's a different generation of players, different generation of people, and you know, it's you know, it's adapting to the times, because, you know, one thing that I always like to think about when it comes to this sort of topic is Mike Tomlin. You know, he's been around for a while. Obviously, he's been coaching the Steelers since like what, 2006 maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 2005 to 2006. Yeah, because 2005 is when they went to the Super Bowl with Bill Cowher. So yeah, 2006 around 2007 around there. And you know, when he was being interviewed by Pat, you know, like last year, Pat made a joke that he's like an old crusty guy, you know, and how does he kind of keep up with the young people? And you know, basically his response is he just tries to keep up with them. You know what I mean? Like he said, he's got a couple sons in college and stuff, playing college football. You know, so he's just trying to keep with the times, so he doesn't just become an old crusty guy, and he's at least a little bit understanding to some extent. Which, you know, obviously massive kudos to him. Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in NFL history. You didn't Steelers end with a positive, you know, over 500. I mean, obviously they didn't make the playoffs, but didn't they end over 500?
I think so.
I think so. If that's the case, never a losing season in his entire career. That's unfreaking real. You know, I mean, it is. So it's just like I don't know, man.
I thought this year was going to be the year.
I thought it was too. I thought it was going to happen.
Boy, Kenny Pickett just went. Oh, he just went way more nuts. But you know, you go back to old school ways. You know, I've mentioned I mentioned a friend of mine who was drafted by the San Francisco Giants, Ben Madison. He was telling me a story one time, Alex, of when he would talk to the New York Yankees, because the Yankees were going to look at him as well. But one of the things the Yankees told him is he's like, look, if we draft you, you're going to have to cut your dreads. And he basically told him not to draft him then, because he didn't want to, you know, be in an environment where, you know, you have to cut your hair a certain way. You watch the New York Yankees. You watch them take the field. I guarantee you, not one of them have a beard like we have right now.
Yeah.
And some of them are just that restrictive an environment. It's just the way it is.
I don't blame Ben on that at all. I really don't. Like, I understand.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, he got drafted. Massive shout out to that, of course. You know, I understand. Like, I understand the positioning of a player of like his stature would have been in, right, where they weren't going to be like a first round draft pick. You know, you're lucky to be drafted, kind of thing. I get it, right? So it's just like you want to go anywhere, but at the same time, you want to be treated like, you know, a human to an extent. Because, you know, I've worked a job. My first job could not have beards. Could not. All you could have was a mustache or sideburns down to your earlobes. Strict company policy. Very strict. I went with it. I hated it. Now they've changed policy because they've caught up to the times and stuff. So, you know, I totally get that, and I respect that 100%. And no, the Steelers did not have a losing. They went 9-8. So his record continues. Never a losing season in his career.
And next year, they could win the division next year.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, well, I would still give it to Cincinnati. I still would, but
high end, barring Cincinnati.
Yes,
barring Cincinnati, they could be second in that division easy next year.
Steve also said Belichick should go to the Saints.
No.
No, watch. Belichick's going to be the Cowboys head coach.
Oh, hell. Don't wish that on us.
Oh, Bill Belichick's going to be a Dallas Cowboy, baby.
That's a Jerry Jones thing, too.
It is. That's a Jerry Jones move. Could Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick coexist, though?
No.
Because Jerry Jones is the GM. You know what I mean?
Jerry Jones has all the control. He drafts the players he wants to.
Yep.
He gives the contracts out the way that he wants to, which most owners do anyway.
Yep.
But everything that they do goes through him. Bill Belichick doesn't want that. He wants total control. He wants control of every little thing that you could possibly do as a head coach.
Right. Man.
Which in some ways I don't blame him because he is the coach. Like, I will say that. I don't blame him on that. He is the coach. But him and Jerry would not coexist.
I actually hope this happens. I want to see this. I want to see
Don't
this so
you
bad.
wish this on me and Jacob, man?
I want to
Goodness
see
gracious.
this so bad.
Goodness
Steve also
gracious.
said Belichick equals Cooper Rush is league MVP. That's fair.
That is fair.
That's-
I'll give him that much because to me, Cooper Rush could still. To me, Cooper Rush should be the #1 quarterback right now for Dallas. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're now at 6:30 Central Time, so I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up because I do have some stuff that I want to do here at the house. I want to mow the yard and a couple other things before it gets dark, and we have weather the next few days. So I got a busy next few days to do. So Ricky, you got anything else you want to shout out? Any other topics? Quickly touch on anything like that?
Well, you did win the $25 gift card. I do believe you won the $25
I
gift card.
cannot
so I'll
believe
have
I
to-
won.
So I'll most likely bring it to you whenever we do the draft here in 3 weeks, which I know it's only, like I said, it's
Are you
25
gonna be
bucks.
here for the draft?
I am going to be there for the
Okay.
draft. Yes, sir. I'm
Man.
coming in for the draft.
Okay.
It is circled on my calendar that I am coming in
Are you
for the draft, and I'm going to be late to work late at work the next day. If I even go into work the next day.
See, that's what I was
may
gonna
not even
ask.
go
Are
to
you
work the
gonna,
next
are
day.
you even going to work on Friday? Because I mean, you got like an hour plus drive home after the draft. The draft's not ending till like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I've been in worse situations. I came back from Florida for my bowling tournament last weekend. Didn't get home to nearly midnight. I was still at work by 6:30 the next morning.
You were in Florida last weekend. Oh, that's right. Your vacation. That's right.
Well, vacation. I also had a bowling tournament. We had a bowl that Sunday, which that sucked. It sucked driving 7.5 hours. No, 7.5, 8 hours home, and then going to bed. That sucked.
Right. Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing a couple weeks. I cannot believe I won that because I was totally just shooting from the hip. I mean, you saw my finals teams. You know, like I mean, I got Miami to go to the Final
Miami.
Four, but like I had Oral Roberts
made the
going to
Final
the
Four.
championship.
I mean, you had. Oh, I cannot believe that either, dude.
There's two reasons behind it. Number one, I'm a child, and they're called oral. All right, so that's reason number one. And number two, I have no clue, like a lot about college basketball, and like I only know a few things here and there. Like I knew Hawaii was doing well, Miami was doing well. You know, I know the main teams. I knew Oral Roberts just thanks to a single TikTok where it's like, you know, if I'm a team in the tournament, I don't want to run into this Oral Roberts team for these reasons. And I'm like, all right, bet that's my championship team.
Well, here's in your defense though, sir. Oral Roberts has 2 players from Arkansas, Isaac McBride and Connor Vanover, who won a state championship together at Baptist Prep, which was, I think did they change their name to? No, I think they were still Baptist Prep because before Baptist Prep they were Arkansas Baptist.
Right.
So that wasn't a bad pick. It wasn't a bad pick. They had their leading scorer was like 23 points a game, but he was a no-show in the first round.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Miami though. Hell of a run.
Yep.
Hell of a
Great
run.
run from Miami.
Even
Great
women's
run
too,
from-
men and women's both, man. Hell of a run. Hell of a
Yeah.
run. I cannot believe I won that though. And also shout out to Tyler reminding me about all of our football stuff. I have not given out prizes for anything because I forgot. Totally forgot. So like you won the college, I think, or college.
Yes.
Jacob
Yes.
and Brady tied for the NFL, which I thought was hilarious when I saw that. And Tyler won the Bowl Mania. So I got to get some prizes out for that here sometime soon. It is now front of my mind. I'm not forgetting this time. I need to do it. So I don't know what it'll be. It'll probably just be, honestly, our trash can hats off Agent Inc. Shout out to Agent Inc. Go buy a jersey or something. Show the boys some love. We'd appreciate that. Honestly, also for anyone listening, I think Agent Inc. is about to run a sale on hoodies and stuff. We do not have a hoodie or anything. But obviously, you know, we're getting out of hoodie season, so run a sale to see what we can move. So you can definitely go over to Agent Inc. maybe here in the next week or so and check that out and pick up some merch from some other creators. Or heck, maybe you might even find one of your favorite schools have their esports team on Agent Inc. Because I know Arkansas State has theirs on there. Fun fact for you. Arkansas State's esports team is on Agent Inc. Agent Inc. designed the jerseys for it. They look sick, honestly. I'm not going to lie. Agent Inc. did such a great job on their jerseys. So, yeah, just keep a lookout for that. Also, check out some Rogue. Keep a lookout for some Rogue. Rogue is about to do their next flavor reveal here soon. I think it will be an energy formula again because the last few they've done was they did 2 hydrations and then they did the black cherry lemonade can. So I think next flavor is going to be an energy tub. So I'm looking forward to seeing whatever it's going to be. You got anything else, man? Now I'm going to hit the music.
Nah, man, go ahead and hit the music, man.
Oh, that was way too loud. All right, we're good. I forgot it's the other song now. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, next week we'll do 4.0s. Week after that, we will do our favorite team 7-round mock draft. Now, I'm actually really excited for that one because we've never done it. Then, of course, week after that, we will do the NFL draft special. Be live for the entire first round. I'm going to probably arrange some guests to come on and chat throughout the show like we did last year. I think Tyler will be here. Tyler asked me if he could come for the draft. I told him that's fine, so he might be here. We'll see.
That's right, Tyler. The Bills are drafting a running back in the first round, man.
Unless someone drafts him first, who knows? He could go number 10 to Philadelphia. We'll see. That'd be high, but I mean, whatever. But yeah, we'll also do our 5.0s right before the draft. We'll go live about 30 minutes before the draft starts, and then the week after that will be our final episode before our break, which we will just do a draft recap. We'll be on break for the rest of May. We'll do 1 episode in June, 1 episode in July, and then back to weekly beginning of August. So pretty good schedule. Looking forward to the break. We've had a hell of a season. Granted, we're just now starting with season 3. We've had a good run so far, so looking forward to getting into the break, getting ready for the full football season. But that's it. Until next time, guys. Have a good one. Bye.